want to move on now. We have the Vice President of Aruba Networks here who's going to talk with us about enterprise mobility. So please give a round of applause to Mr. Wolfram Fischer.
Good afternoon, everybody. How are you today? Pretty good? Yeah, my name is Wolfram Fischer. I work for Aruba Networks, and I'm standing in for our beloved CEO, Dominic Orr, who couldn't make it on time. He's still on his way to Europe, but unfortunately, he couldn't make it happen. I will talk to you in the next 30 minutes about enterprise mobility, why this is here today, what are the specific requirements, what are some of the solutions, and what are the next steps. When we look back a little bit, there was the Generation X. People worked in the office and they relaxed at home. When they went to the office, they had a typical office setup, depending on the company and the philosophy, with a cubicle, some drawers with the filing, the documents, a desk phone, a terminal or a desktop, and they worked from 8 till 5, from 7 till 9, and then they go home. And occasionally on a weekend, you got a phone call from your boss about something you need to prepare for Monday morning, and it was very unfortunate because you have not a lot of information available in your office. At home, yes, you had a phone because you want to connect it to the family, you do some calls, but the rest was different. You had a TV, a radio, a record player, maybe a tape, and that's mainly it. And you spend most of your time with the family. Then Generation Y come up, and you will start to ushering between different workplaces, mainly two. You had your office in the company, a little bit different than in the old days, sometimes still in cubicles, but quite often an open space. You typically had a desktop or a docking station with a notebook. You had a cable to plug into the network. And you had a study at home. And if you were lucky and you had an early IDSN line or a DSL line, you could connect to your enterprise and download some data, maybe do some emails at a very slow pace. Today, we're talking about Generation Mobile, a totally different way of working, where really the lines between business, private, travel, fun, and work is really blurring. And I believe today you all, more or less, are Generation Mobile. Because Generation X and Generation Y, we hardly experience anymore. Whether you work in the office, from an airport, from a coffee shop, in a train, or even at home, you use, more or less, a set of devices. A smartphone, a tablet, maybe a notebook, maybe a Mac, maybe another device. And what you see over the past 2 years, more and more devices don't have a jack anymore, so you can plug in your LAN cable, right? Try it on a Mac, it doesn't work, you need wireless. So the Generation Mobile is addicted to be online, is addicted to their device, is addicted to their applications on the device. And that's a big thing. And in the early days of Generation Mobile, it was mainly apps which have been more isolated. Some have been connected, but more and more now all the enterprise application, and we're talking about enterprise, about business, are available in different kind of look and feels, tuned for the different devices. So if you use the app on a mobile phone with a very small display, you have a simplified user interface, and if you have a larger screen, you still can use your mouse and other point of entries. Now, this new generation clearly demands a different way how to design the workplace and how to design the infrastructure related to make it successful, easy to use, and to make it really effective to drive productivity, because that's why we spend all the money in our private life, to be more productive and to have more fun, and that's why all the enterprise spend the money to make their employees more productive. This is a picture of an old workplace, cubicle-based, some fixed phones, a desktop, some other things, and sometimes they are bigger, sometimes they are smaller, depending on the company policy. What is interesting, one of these workplace average costs 14K, and typically 60% of the resources and the space available is hardly not occupied. So quite a waste of money. You plan a lot, you prepare it, and nobody's using it. The workplace of yesterday also have been the nice meetings room, which was primarily planned on average, and you can debate about that, a conference room in a typical corporate building, an average one, not a big one, the main hall, typically is planned for 7+ people. And what you figure out, in 70% of the cases or more or a little bit less, these rooms are only used by 2 to 4 people and not always full. And often when you walk by, you see empty rooms. So quite a waste in terms of asset, quite a waste in terms of efficiency, and so on. So in the new environment, it is kind of moving from cubicles and square footage in kind of very predefined workspaces to collisionable moments of interactions. No longer in today's world, you go to a desk and you sit down and you log on and you start a dialogue, okay? You walk by, you get a text message, you look on your mobile phone, you see someone, you go ahead, you do an approval, you move, you see a tablet, and you use all these kind of things. In the new generation mobile, the current workforce, and even more so the future workforce, will definitely require a seamless switch between computing, and getting access. You no longer want to follow a predefined way which the IT department gives you. You want to use your own way. You want to choose your own device. The only thing you want to make sure it is secure. The data you use can be secure. The access is always secure, and you can access anywhere. Also, there are some costs associated to this. Okay, some companies who have optimized their campus environment and moved from a cubicle-based environment to an open, more collaborative environment, they can save quite a big number. There is an example from Glaxo. Gartner says if you optimize 100 cubicles, you can save typically $1 million a year. So if you use that saving and you invest in new technology, you can achieve 2 things: drive productivity and employee satisfaction. But there is also new requirements for this enterprise mobile workspace. In general, you need a very stable IT. You need a stable wireless environment. You need a secure IT, and you need a very secure wireless environment. Because suddenly the information is not flowing through cable, the information is flowing through the air. How do you secure air? What's going on in the air? Totally different new environment. Also, it needs to be simple, because you are not addressing a very defined own employee workforce. You are now addressing a broader workforce, a workforce which is always on a run on different places, so it needs to be simple. And last but not least, the user experience we expect today need to be smart and need to leverage technology which is smart. What does it mean? Stable IT, stable wireless. When you project and implement a wireless network in a campus or in a room, you need to make sure the antenna beams to every space, every footage, so you have a good coverage. Number 2, you have a good speed of data uplink and downlink. Number 3, you need to enable, depending on the sensitivity of the data, encryption, decryption, and it needs to be absolutely reliable. It cannot break down, it needs to work, and it needs to work reliable. Second point is, from an experience perspective, whether you are a user or the person who manages the network, you need to make the mobile experience and the parameters for the mobile experience visible, so you can adjust and dynamically configure the relevant parameters so you have a really reliable, powerful wireless. Also, today, as a lot of the data is no longer stored in bespoke data centers or bespoke storage centers, a lot of the data is stored in the cloud, so you need to consider cloud integration, login, download capabilities, different functionality, and you need to cater for that. Second, everything needs to be secured. Nobody wants to have data flying around, primarily on the enterprise side, but also on the private side. So you want to make sure that you embrace the new access paradigm. Today you access the network, the wireless network, with mobile phones, with tablets, with notebooks, with laptops, and all of these have different ways of accessing. So you need to make sure that you have the right protocols, that you have the right technology, the right software, but you not just need to secure the device, you also need to secure the application, you need to secure some of the places. What happens if someone forgets his mobile phone? It has no passcode encryption, anyone can log on, use the app, all these kind of things. And also the data, and this is the new complexity you have to deal with in the enterprise mobility space. Simplicity is with cloud. When you use cloud services today, you need a log-on and a password. That's mainly it, and a fast connection. And then you upload, download, depending on video, photos, documents, other information. So that's an engagement model which is heavily used, and it's more and more used in the enterprise. For example, I am the sales VP for EMEA. I use Salesforce.com, a cloud-based solution. I want to access this from the tablet, the Mac, the PC, or from my mobile phone, smartphone. So very important, but I want to access it in a secure way. Today, a lot of these services available in the market are provisioned as a service, infrastructure as a service. So there is a big back end into this where you can make IT simple and easy to use, or where you can make it difficult. The last component with every user who uses technology and IT in a company, if something goes wrong, you open a ticket. You call the help desk. But also, that old paradigm is changing, because today, not every company has a help desk anymore. Not every company has a ticketing system anymore. Some outsource it to third parties. Others use the internet and the web as a knowledge sharing, and you fix your own problem by logging onto the net, enter the problem, and you get a response how you fix it. So this is also something which need to be considered in the enterprise mobility, because the people have a different approach and a different attitude. Last but not least, smart IT, smart wireless, smart devices. Today, it is no longer about predefined passes. It is about the location awareness, the mobility and application context, the impact of your role being a customer, being a user, being a support staff, being a sales rep, or being the CIO of a company or the CEO of a company. Today, the technology with GPS, with wireless, with the new technology called wireless beacons, wireless smart beacons, you have a lot of information available which you can use and make the life of the user much more meaningful. For example, what you see here, you come to a stadium on Saturday afternoon to watch a game, American football, soccer, or whatever. You need to go to your seat, row 8, seat 25. Typically, you look around and check and ask and look on the map. Today you have the mobile phone. You just enter your seat number and it gives you the direction. And if they have a wireless coverage, an LTE coverage, or a beacon coverage, or GPSM, they can lead you there. Just a few examples. If you're sitting and enjoying the game and you get hungry, you push a button and you order your food. And because they know you are sitting there, because they can locate you to a granularity of 50 centimeters, the servant comes and gives you the beer and the sausage or the donuts. So all in this context, this is what enterprise mobility is all about. What a journey. Now, the technology we use for the wireless infrastructure has started roughly 2003, when Intel introduced the Centrino chip on the laptop. Because suddenly, you were independent. They unleashed the worker from the cable. It was the first time this was possible. 11A, B, and G wireless network were dominating that space, and you see on the orange color how this was developing. It was increasing, and then there was a slowdown because a new technology came along. The iPhone arrived, Android arrived, the iPad arrived, Mobile Link from Microsoft arrived, 11N arrived, and suddenly you had more capability, more bandwidth, and there was more and more demand for wireless application, for a free access to the network without being leashed to a cable. This explosion is going on right now with the endorsement of 11AC, which is the gigabyte wireless network capability based on the standard. Currently wave 1, very successful, a big chunk of the networking business today, a big chunk of the driver of mobility devices, because most of the current new developed devices are capable to provide 11AC capabilities, which makes your life more easy, which enables you to transfer down data faster, more meaningful, and more interactive. So, this industry trend has been completed by Aruba Network, and this is my product pitch. The rest was just more generic. It's my product pitch. You know, definitely we provided 11A, B, and G networks. We had a controller-based system, controller connected to the access points with adaptive radio management could do basic functionality, and suddenly we had the first wireless network available. Around the time when iPhone was introduced, we went into more functionality because more functionality was suddenly available on the device, so we had to update adaptive radio management version 2, power management, network disturbance management, radio interception management, all these kind of features we put into the wireless network to make the experience more seamless and to make sure that the network behaves based on the demand from the user, not the other way around. We introduced Airwave, our management system, to visualize to the IT department what is going on in the air. Because if you have cables, you see where the cable starts, where it ends, through which switches it goes. On the air, you see nothing, right? So we had to visualize. We have tools. We have leveraged a lot of technology to make this available. The next step was that we moved from a campus-based environment where you had good control because it was a big room, it was one building, and you can manage it nicely, to the branch, people said, okay, I want to have wireless in my campus, I want to have wireless in my branch. You had to connect them in a meaningful way. So we developed the virtual branch network, capabilities where you could seamlessly, with one device, which can be a controller, at the same time an access point, at the same time a switch, simplified management, because only one plug, done. The rest is all managed. Through ClearPass, which is a secure network access software technology, which gives you the possibility to provide guest access, to provide on-guard, so you can manage security based on the requirements in a policy context, up to complicated integration of ecosystems from mobile device management to desktop device management and so on. When the time came that the network 11N was launched and there was more capacity and capabilities available, we introduced a technology which called ClientMatch. ClientMatch is a patented differentiator of Aruba. If you have access point 1 and access point 2 and you move your device in a traditional environment, if the radio signal gets lower, the device hold on until there is no signal anymore. You move, you get to the next one, and then it hands over. So you have a degradation of the performance. ClientMatch is so smart, it knows the device is on access point 1, but access point 2 is already there, and it pushes you over at the ideal point, not at the lowest possible point. This is a technology. The next technology we invented more recently was App RF. That means we not just know which device you are using, on which network you are, what security capability you have. We also know the application details, and we even know whether in the application you are using voice, video, or data. And for example, if you are on a link call, which is voice related, and you do a phone call, you have the highest priority, because voice is important, and if someone is on a phone, he needs the quality. Okay? So typically, there is an automatismus in the system where the application-aware environment gives you at the right time for the right application, the right bandwidth, and the right transmission, so you have a very, very good wireless experience. The next type of activities we see in this journey from Aruba Network is what we call mobile engagement. Mobile engagement is a technology we are using which is basically complementing Wi-Fi with the beacon, where you have more intelligence on specific location, in an application engine which gives you dynamic information about where you are, where your devices are, where the network is, and that gives you totally new experiences. We recently did some demos in a hotel. So Wolfram, on his business trip, arrives in London. I typically go to the Heathrow Airport Sofitel when I'm at the Heathrow Airport. I like that hotel. And when I go in, they say, "Welcome, Mr. Fischer, how are you today?" Now, obviously, if the clerk who saw me 5 times in this hotel, he knows me, he says hello. But if there is a new clerk, how does he know that Wolfram Fischer is here and that I'm back and blah, blah, blah? If they store it, I join, I logged in, the beacon recognizes it's Wolfram's device, it draws the message to the portier, and he said, "Welcome, Mr. Fischer, back to Sofitel London Heathrow." These are the new technologies available with app, with desktop, with the network, and with the capability. And we believe there is more to come, more to come. But right now, we are in the center of the explosion of 11AC. We are at the center of the explosion of the apps, and we have all these capabilities. And Aruba Network has specialized on that ecosystem. And because we have specialized on the wireless ecosystem, stable, secure, simple, and smart, we are a fast-growing company. And we got a lot of accreditation in the market from the independent analysts, from a lot of customers. And we are really leading in that area. And it's just the start. This picture was taken about 2014, Market Street in San Francisco. They dismantled an old, big, cubicle Generation X and Y office. And we got that picture. When they dismantled it, they pulled all the cables out. They did some refurbishment of the cables, but most of the cables ended up being sold to a garbage collector who takes the copper out and make money out of it. And they use some of this money to invest in a near-level AC infrastructure. Just started. The evolution goes, and I believe in the next 2-3 years, this will be a big explosion. Now, another thing was happening recently. About 2 weeks ago, HP announced to acquire Aruba because they believe we have a leading-edge portfolio. And many of our customers have been concerned about that acquisition because HP has a positive and a negative track record with acquisition. But our technology in our market growth was so interesting for HP that they put money on the table and acquire us. And they also told the market publicly that they want to keep the Aruba brand, that they want to keep the Aruba go-to-market, the Aruba technology, and the Aruba partner ecosystem to drive growth in the market and provide an enterprise mobility to the traditional IT service and IT hardware organizations. So this is good, exciting news for us, but also for HP, and even more so for the market, because Aruba technology, which is really leading edge, can now be made available also through the HP channel partners, through the HP services networks, and through the HP affiliates. So for us, it's a good opportunity. What we are working on continuously as a company, independent of HP and with HP, and this is where our founder and our CEO, Dominic Orr, and the founder, Kerti Melkoti, stands for open, standards-based networking environment, software-defined. You need to understand, when we started the company, quickly in the second year, they said, people move, networks must follow. Not like the old paradigm shifters, and there are a few in the market, still the big animals. There is the network, and the people can only leverage the network. No, people move, network must follow. Network is not something static where you are leashed to a cable. These times are gone forever. Last but not least, Aruba Network is successful today because we don't just push our own technology. We have 3 solutions, more or less. State-of-the-art 11AC wireless LAN, ClearPass secure access software for the mobile enterprise, in our mobile engagement portfolio to manage location, context-aware value add into the application and network environment. We are not just relying on our 3 little buckets. We're relying on a big ecosystem of partners who complement our technology with their technology leadership, who complement our go-to-market and deployment capabilities with their capabilities, and obviously who help us providing a differentiated solution for the enterprise. This is what it is all about. I want to thank you. If you have any question, you can go to the booth. Aruba has a booth, Hall 4, A29. You can go to the website, read more. You can meet us afterwards. But one thing is clear. If you think about enterprise mobility as a value add for your company, you have to talk to us, because we believe we have a very, very good offering, and we are confident to offer you a solution which will meet your needs, your end-user needs, your mobility needs, and we also can meet your budget. Thank you very much.
Mr. Fischer, everybody liked that photograph you had of all the cables with the Wi-Fi. Do you know anyone who's actually tried to undo all those cables?
Someone tried it, he gave up.
And he gave up. He'll be here next
yeah,
year. Okay, Mr. Fischer, thank you very much. Thank you very much.